Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. Got somebody, second time guest on the show, Grant Cohn. You guys may know him. He's a 49ers reporter, Sports Illustrated, writer, editor, YouTube mogul, all that. Mentor to me here. Was the first person I called when I wanted to start a YouTube channel. And Grant, thanks for being on the show again. Let everybody know things you got going on coming up that you want to promote. Anything I can help to help you help yourself.
Just the same old stuff, posting videos from my basement, yelling into a camera. John Lynch talks on Monday. That'll be the big one. That's the big event. I'll be there. The beat writers will be there. Will Trey Lance be on the team by Monday? Is that going to be John Lynch explaining why he traded him? Or is that going to be John Lynch explaining the reports? I mean, it's just so good. I mean, you could probably take bets on that in Vegas right now, or you should be able to. So that's what's up with me. I'm thinking about Monday.
No doubt about it. That's exciting.
Also tonight, the Warriors and Kings. I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about that too.
Ooh, yeah, excited and nervous. I wouldn't say do or die, but come on, no team's ever come back from 0-3, so it's pretty much do or die for the Dubs tonight. Crazy stuff. So we got a lot of folks here in the audience, so I want to call some people out here before we get too deep. I got Nathan Flores showed up early. Professor Grant, Shani Lean, thanks for showing up. Paul Hope showing up from across the pond. A little early also. Marco.
And real quick,
Morena.
if you guys just getting to know Ted, during the season, Ted writes for me. He'll do articles for Fan Nation SI, all 49ers, during the week, previewing the game, looking back at the game. I mean, very high level analysis. I just want to point that out. Ted's he's a multimedia journalist is what Ted is.
Thanks, Grant. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to do something here in the offseason too, so maybe following the draft. We'll see, or maybe even if I can squeeze something in before, that might be a good motivation.
You should. I don't like the term content creator because honestly, every person in the world creates content, if you know what I mean. What does that even mean? Multimedia journalist might be more of a mouthful, but I think it's more specific. Literally a baby creates content. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. I never thought
what
about
is
it.
content? What is content? Content is what is the definition of content? A thing? Something. That's good.
It's words.
It's really, that's really specific. Content creator.
Yeah, I never even thought about that before. I just was like, hey, I'm trying to be one. And so.
Multimedia journalist. MMJ. No one says that.
MMJ.
No one say that. It's not going to catch on. Stop trying to make that a thing. It's not going to work. But I'm going to go with it. MMJ.
Hey,
all right, let's talk football.
I'm always one to give something a try. I don't like to be ignorant.
MMJ.
Reject something
just
out of
to be, condescending to other people, and arrogant. That's what I like to do. I'm better than you. I'm this. You're just that. That's how I work.
There you go. Well, the chat is popping. We got Brian Culp in the house, Jose Batista, 49ers daddy. Yo, new intro. Yes, a new intro, some new logo work. I've been working with a new designer. So if anybody wants information on that, feel free to DM me. Claire Sard is saying, thankful today won't be talk about QBs. Oh, I think we'll squeeze in some QB talk at some point today. What do you think, Grant? I mean,
Ted, I don't think we're going to have time to read every single comment, though. I got an hour, and there's going to be a lot of comments today. Usually they come in quick. So let's get into the conversation.
Let's get into it. All right. So you led off with Trey Lance. Will he be here on Monday? What's your thought?
My best guess is that there's some tension in the front office right now. There always is, but I think John Lynch is motivated to do this now, and he probably has a lot of good reasons. And I think probably other people in the organization feel like, man, that's irresponsible to trade a guy that we gave up so much for after 4 starts. And then you probably got Kyle somewhere in the middle where, he respects John, he likes Brock Purdy, but at the same time, he probably spearheaded the whole Trey Lance thing. So I think what John's going to do is try to get the best offer in the next couple of days. And then probably someone else, maybe Adam Peters or someone in the organization will make this, the argument why they shouldn't make the deal. And Kyle's going to have to make up his mind. I think it ultimately comes down to Kyle. And again, he's the one that brought Trey here. So I don't know where his head's at. All I know is when asked about this, a couple weeks ago, Kyle's attitude was, "Hey man, he was going to have a great year last year if he stayed healthy." So I feel like all of this, Brock's the leader in the clubhouse, Brock's special, Brock's the guy, is coming from John publicly, not Kyle. Kyle will say, yeah, I like Brock, but he's on hold, injured. I also like Trey. I also like Sam Darnold. So I kind of feel like this is a John Lynch production, and he has the next few days to make a case, find a deal, present it to Kyle, and get Kyle's approval. And I don't know what that takes. I mean, if Kyle would trade Trey for a third, it might happen. I could see John Lynch finding a team to offer a third this year, maybe. But if Kyle, won't do it for anything less than a second this year, I don't see Trey getting moved. I don't. What do you think?
I don't see him getting moved. I mean, I think there's three factors. There's the draft capital we gave up to get him. There's his future potential, and there's his dead cap. All three, I think, are big hindrances. And we get third round picks like money. I mean,
I got a fourth. The fact that he hasn't actually failed. He just got injured. Only 4 starts. It's not like he's had 22 starts. Let's compare him to Zach Wilson, right? Zach Wilson with the pick before him. Also really looking like a bust. Or there's questions. Going to get replaced, all that stuff. They're not trading him. Also, he started 22 games. 22 games, and they're thinking, maybe he's not the guy. They're not trading him. They're keeping him, and they might bring in one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time to mentor him. The Niners, on the other hand, four starts, and they're thinking of throwing him away. And they traded up. The Jets were just there at pick 2. The Niners traded up, and I mean, it's just incompetent organizational malpractice. And, most guys would get fired for that. But Jed, I mean, he seems cool with whatever. So maybe the Niners can act differently than other teams. I don't know.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. I mean, there's never been a highly drafted QB that's been labeled a bust after 4 starts. It's usually at least 20 starts. Yeah. And most people say 2 to 3 full seasons. So
yeah,
I'd be more like 30 to almost 50.
Blake Bortles got that. Blaine Gabbert got that. DeMarcus Russell got that. They're treating him like he's Paxton Lynch, who was a late first-round pick. Nah, man, this guy was a blue chip, top 3 pick. Or was he? If the Niners hadn't taken Trey Lance, where would he have gotten drafted? That's the thing. Trey Lance is a mystery and a half, man. And he was, I don't know. They say maybe for Atlanta. What if, maybe not? I don't know. I just don't know.
I've been saying,
how many teams had Trey Lance? How many teams had Trey Lance ahead of Justin Fields on their boards? That's a good question. I'd like to know.
I mean, I didn't. I was Justin Fields 1A, Trey Lance 1B. I just thought Fields would be ready sooner. I never thought we'd keep Jimmy. So I thought it'd be better to go with Fields because he could hit the ground running sooner. I always thought Trey had the higher ceiling, but that's still TBD. He may never reach it.
Does he, though? Because Justin Fields is a better athlete than Trey Lance. I feel like the reason to put Trey Lance over Justin Fields was his experience in an under-center pro-style offense and the lack of interceptions. I felt like the decision-making with Justin Fields was questionable. I mean, he ran into sacks. He threw picks, at least against Northwestern. And that's kind of translated. And with Trey, he seemed like a good decision-maker. And he is a good decision-maker. But the question was accuracy, mechanics. And you knew you had to fix it like the Bills did with Josh Allen. We thought the Niners understood that when they drafted him, but I don't see much of a change with his mechanics. And is that on the Niners? Is that on him? Can he not change? Have they tried? I don't know. But everyone knew that he had to work on his mechanics, and we're at year 3 and it looks the same. And that's not what happened in Buffalo with Josh Allen. So I just don't understand what happened. I don't understand. Is he just Blaine Gabbert? Blaine Gabbert's just inaccurate. When I first saw Trey, I was thinking, oh man, this guy's Blaine Gabbert. But I was thinking, no, Blaine never improved. Trey can improve. Josh Allen improved. This guy can do it. But some guys just cannot improve their throwing and their accuracy. And that was Blaine Gabbert to me. So I hope that's not Trey.
I hope not too. And when I say a higher ceiling, you're right. Justin Fields is the better athlete, but I think Trey Lance is better at reading progressions and making passes that are more intricate, pocket, that are more timing based. I think Justin Fields is kind of like Russ Wilson. He's good when the play breaks down, but I'm not so sure that he's great on those first, second, third reads with intricate timing like we use for Kyle's system. But yeah,
isn't it system oriented too though? Like for Philly, who would be a better fit on that team, Trey or Justin Fields? That's a whole different system.
I mean, that's a good question. Hurts is a great runner, so I would lean towards Fields maybe.
Right. So I think a big reason the Niners lean towards Trey is system. Scheme. And I think you get in trouble if you're drafting players if you're scouting the offense and the scheme of the college rather than the player, because you should be able to teach whatever you need to do, the basics of running your scheme. And I think Kyle isn't necessarily a teacher at heart. He grew up with X's and O's. His dad, he's an X's and O's genius. But is he a teacher? Like, I don't know. He hasn't developed quarterbacks. Couldn't develop Trey. Hasn't developed Trey. Brock Purdy doesn't need development, which is why he fits.
Yeah. No, Brock Purdy, he's got the advantage with 48 starts in college compared to Trey's only 17.
Now they're looking at DTR, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly developed him. He's been playing for 5 years. Same thing.
And that's got to make you happy. I know you're a big UCLA DTR.
He's good. The same thing with Brock. Like, Brock was on a team with a good running back, Breece Hall, and not a lot else. And then you put him on the Niners, and it's like, wait a second, he's got weapons now. Go back and look what DTR had at UCLA. Good running backs, just like Purdy, and nothing else. Not one wide receiver you could name. And also a terrible defense. So statistically, I think they had a top 5 offense in college football. And a lot of that's Chip Kelly. But a lot of that's his kid. So I'm just putting that out there.
Didn't the Niners have a meeting with one of those running backs from UCLA?
I don't know. Charbonnet's really
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet's really good.
I was like, is his name Champagne or something? But,
what I like about it's like a combination of champagne and Chardonnay, which I love.
Yeah, there you
anyway,
go.
He's really good. I would rather draft him in round 3 than Bijan Robinson in round 1, because to me, I feel like Charbonnet gives you more as a receiver than Bijan, but I could be wrong. I've just watched a lot of Charbonnet. You can line him up outside the backfield. You can do a lot with Charbonnet. Good receiver.
Ryan Hensley in the house said Ted Grant just rewatched Kyle's press conference. Nothing seems like he wants to trade him at all. Yeah, I mean, I just think that's
what I
Lynch.
think. If you focus on Kyle's words, you come away with they're not trading Trey. But if you focus on John's words, you think like Larry. You're like, oh man, this dude is out. He's gone. So that's what's interesting to me. Like those are the two main guys in the organization, and I don't think they're on the same page. But if you go back through the history, they haven't been at the quarterback position forever, right? John Lynch wanted Jimmy, and Kyle was begrudging about it. Then Kyle fell out of love with Jimmy and brought in Trey, and maybe John was begrudging about it. And maybe there's that still push and pull struggle going on now.
Yeah, I think there is. And I think they made it clear that they've said this before Trey Lance, that they're always open to trading anyone for the right price, including themselves. It's just they're not going to get the right price for Trey Lance, in my opinion. And I don't think it's a third. I don't even think a second and a fourth is enough. I think it would take a first and more, and I just don't see anyone offering that. But we'll see. I guess time will tell, as the wise man says.
Right, like last year, weren't the Niners fielding calls on Deebo Samuel? Right, they were. But what they want, 2 first-round picks? It didn't happen. They're like, yeah, you can call us up. We'll listen. Anyone has a price, but it didn't happen. So I think it could go that way with Trey Lance this year too. Because really, what are they going to get? What team is going to offer him a first-round pick, to your point? It's not going to happen. Even a second-round pick, I'd be shocked. A second-round pick this year? And he hasn't played in 3 years, essentially? No, I can't see it happening. I can't.
Yeah, I can't see it either. And hopefully we're right. We'll see. Because for me, ultimately, I just want to have the strongest QB room possible for the stretch run in the playoffs. And to me, that means Trey Lance has to get some experience. I think Brock can improve. But the last thing I want to see is Brock come in, start week 1, play well, maybe improve a little bit during the season, because I don't think he's hit his ceiling, but I think he's close. And then towards the end of the season or in the playoffs, he gets hurt and he shoves Trey Lance in with no more experience and hadn't had a chance to improve himself. I think that's one of the doomsday scenarios for this season. Whereas if you start Lance off, he could play really well, never look back. If he plays poorly, you can always pop Purdy back in, assuming that he's better. But that's the other thing too, is we just don't even know when Purdy is going to be ready. That's another place where the messaging from Kyle and Lynch is sort of incongruent. They're not really agreeing on. Lynch said, "Oh, we think he'll be back for training camp." Kyle says week 1 to 4, but then Kyle says in the same breath or the breath before, "Oh yeah, 6 to 8 months." And Grant, 8 months from March 10th is November 10th. That's actually Thursday Night Football, week 10, not week 4. So, and I've talked to 2 different doctors about it too.
I have an interpretation. Yeah. I feel like John is trying to tie Kyle down to Brock. Brock's great. Brock's our guy. And Kyle's like, hey, man, we just went on 2 dates. Like, it was a good 2 dates. But, I kind of carried the conversation, like, both of them, like, slow down, bud. I think that's kind of what's happening. Like, once again, this is what John did with Jimmy. Over the moon, real fast. Kyle's like, wait a second. It's the system. It's the weapons. It's me. I like Brock, but not like that. I'm not going to propose. So I think there's a little bit of that going on. Like, Kyle just pushing back, being like, hey, man, maybe if he doesn't start right away, Sam Darnold is good. And I think Kyle just wants to maintain his bachelor status. Like, he doesn't want to be tied down to Brock. Like, that's why he's talking about Darnold. Like, man, I could do this with Sam. John, chill. I could do this with Sam. Watch. Like, it's not. Stop falling for the first quarterback that, like, wins the game for you, man. Like, come on. I think a little bit of that's going on. God love Kyle, man. Don't lose this battle.
So you're saying John Lynch is the angry father there with the shotgun trying to make sure that Kyle walks down the aisle with Purdy.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Commit.
Yeah. I'll leave out the middle part. But
you went on 2 dates. You're good. She's the one for you. Commit. And Kyle's like, hey, man, no. I got another date lined up next week.
Kyle's swiping right.
Yeah. He's like, man, I've been trying to holler at this quarterback for like 5 years, man. Nah, I'm waiting on this one. He's been trying to holler. Now he's got Darnold in the building.
Yeah, because we don't know when Purdy will be back. I mean, ultimately, they're basing all this information off a bunch of pitchers, right?
Right.
The 6 to
and
7
Nick Mullins.
months.
Nick Mullins.
And we don't even know if Nick Mullins is 100% now, 2.5 years later.
No idea.
No
we
idea.
know. Look, if you look at his numbers, though, in preseason in 2021, and then that one start he made in 2021 in Cleveland, he was not himself. So, I mean, I'm thinking Purdy, he could get cleared, but I do not think he's going to look anything like he looked last year. I think that's going to wait until 2024 for him to make the full recovery, if he ever makes it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's really interesting. I mean, so these pitchers are pitching from a mound, and Purdy's going to be in the middle of a pocket. So, like, there's doubts as to, like,
the much heavier ball.
Right.
Heavier ball.
Different motion.
Yep.
Until how long will Purdy be ready to rip it?
Could get hit.
From there, could get hit. Yeah, and could be afraid of getting hit, which happens to a lot of quarterbacks in the pocket.
Is the elbow able to withstand contact? Because the way pitchers blow out their elbows is not through contact. It's just from wear and tear and overuse. That's not what happened here. So can he take... The guy is little. I know they list him at 6'1", 220. Have you seen him in person? No. He is 6 feet, like 195. Get out of here with that. He's my size with, like, bigger quads. No way.
Big quads, yeah. They called him Baby Bosa in camp.
He's listed at the same size as Jalen Hurts. Hell no. He was listed at 212 at the combine. I don't know how the Niners put him at 220. I bet you he's 205 soaking wet. 205 tops. Little.
And how much weight do you think he's lost not being able to work out all this time? He's not doing any bench presses or curls or anything like that. So upper body probably atrophied some even since then.
He shouldn't play this year. The Niners have all these quarterbacks. Kyle's so confident. Also, if you like him as much as you say you do, why? He's the future. Forget this year. One, you got Kyle. You got this great team. He likes Darnold. You got Trey Lance. You're invested. And Brock's your future. Like, no reason to rush him back. There's a million reasons not to.
No doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest reason is get Lance some experience. Now, what about the Adam Peters to the Texans? What do you think about that rumor that's going around?
Well, it would require Nick Caserio to get fired, and he came out this week and said he's not going to get fired. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, a lot of people have left the Niners organization in the last few years and it's like, is it because of the quarterback thing? Was there disagreements? Do some people want Trey, not want Trey? I don't know. If Trey gets traded and Adam Peters leaves shortly after, what would that mean? Would that mean that he didn't want Trey Lance to get traded? That he didn't want to be associated with a front office that would commit organizational malpractice by giving all that for a guy and then getting rid of him before letting him prove himself? Like, I don't know. So I wonder if that's a little connected. Like, all of a sudden, rumors of Trey Lance getting traded and rumors of Adam Peters leaving come out in the same week. Like, what is that about? So I don't know. I kind of feel like he's going to stay and Trey's going to stay. And this is all like posturing and stuff, but we'll see.
Well, did Casario totally deny it though, or didn't he say something like the talks haven't gotten to that level yet? Like, wasn't it
You
something
tell me.
along those
You tell
lines?
me.
Where
You
like
tell
it
me.
sounded like there was maybe some whispers, or they like talked about it, but they weren't. We were not really that serious. I think he left the door open at least a
I
smidge.
could see that if D'Amico Ryans has more power right now in that front office than in among the ownership than Casario, then I could definitely see D'Amico saying, "I want my guy." That's how all these guys are. They always want to work with people they know. Like D'Amico doesn't really know Nick Casario that well, which means can he trust Nick Casario? Can Nick Casario trust him? He probably feels he could trust Adam Peters because they know each other. So it depends what the owner wants to do. Who are you listening to? Who has the juice right now in that organization, D'Amico or Casario? And it sounds like it's D'Amico. So yeah, to your point, this could happen. This could happen because look, like D'Amico got the 6-year contract, like Kyle. And if they're trying to set up if D'Amico said, "Hey, for me to succeed here, you got to let me be Kyle. You got to let me have the same exact setup Kyle has because that's what you want, right?" Well, then Kyle runs the organization here, so maybe D'Amico runs it over there. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will. Chad New says perhaps Trey's injury prone, worth investing in. I mean, we can't say that Trey's not
Possible.
injury prone at this point.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think it's enough to say one way or the other, but it's a concern, and like that's what I've been saying as far as like I think that eventually Trey will hit his ceiling or come close to it and be a better QB than Purdy, but injuries could definitely keep him from doing that, and lack of experience could keep him from doing that. Injuries would be the main way, or Purdy not giving him a chance are the two ways I see that happening. So let's see here. As far as we had Casario, what about Aiyuk getting traded is another one that I've been hearing a little bit about.
Yeah, I could see that one happening on draft night. I mean, if the Giants are interested, pick 25, it would make sense not to do that trade now because you don't know who's going to be on the board at pick 25. And there might be 2 or 3 people the Niners are interested in, or one. And if he's there, they might do it. If he's not, they might not because, they need a starting right tackle. And you're not going to get one with the 99th pick in the draft. So maybe there's one guy that they would trade Brandon Aiyuk for. But you got to be careful because last time they took a right tackle in the first round, they just ended up with a decent, solid starter, not an impact player. And Brandon Ayuk's an impact player. So if you trade him for a starting right tackle, better be an impact player. Otherwise, you're downgrading, even though you're filling a position of need. So they got to think about that. But I think that 25th pick is probably on the table. The Niners just have to figure out if there's someone there that they want more than Aiyuk.
Yeah, and then if that doesn't work out, then you've got another Defoe Kinlaw situation where you trade somebody, the pick doesn't work out, and all of a sudden it's haunting you 2-3 years later. People are still talking about we should never have traded Aiyuk.
It's true, but do you really have enough targets to go around? I mean, it's a run first team, to Brandon Ayuk's point, and you already have McCaffrey, Debo, and Kittle. Like, you don't throw that much. All those guys get paid so much, so you have to give them touches. Like, where does Aiyuk factor in? Isn't that his question? He calls himself 4th option on a run first team. Like, it's not really fair to him. He's definitely graduated beyond that. He should be the first or second option on a team that passes. But that's not really the Niners. And from the Niners' perspective, if those 3 are their top 3 guys, from their 4th option, wouldn't they want a guy who's maybe a little bigger, a little faster, a little bit more of a big play threat? Someone who, doesn't get the ball as much as Aiyuk, but when he does, it's for bigger plays. I don't know. I can see that happening. And that was supposed to be Danny Gray, right? But Danny Gray, I don't know if he's that guy.
And he's not that big. I mean, that is one thing.
Chris Conley is that guy 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah, he had one season of 750
something like that. So if they could get like the next Chris Conley, that's probably what they're looking for. Someone bigger, faster than Aiyuk, but not necessarily someone who gets the same volume because he's not as good. Aiyuk's really good, very well rounded.
No doubt about it. So I guess that brings up a point. What are your draft priorities, Grant, as far as coming into the draft?
Well, let me answer Paul's question real quick. It's the same for everyone. Be prolific. I was talking to Ted about this. You can't just put out like one thing a day or like you really got to commit to this. Be prolific and cross-pollinate. Work with other content creators, especially guys who don't have the same audience as you, and let their audience get to know you. That's a good way to go. And if you're good, people people will tune in. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter where you are. In fact, a lot of Niner fans in the UK might get a kick out of hearing your accent.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Hey, I
have another question for you.
Sure.
As far as like, were there any content creators that like, I know you're a pillar now, but like any content creators that you looked up to when you were starting, or people that were really helpful to you the way you've been so helpful to me, getting me going here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say first, Haberman and Middlecoff. Guy Haberman and John Middlecoff. Guy Haberman and John. I'm stupid. It's early. I know them very well. What happened was they had a radio show at 95.7, and they got canceled or whatever, fired. It was ridiculous because they were great, and I didn't know what they were going to do. Guy's an announcer, so he had that to fall back on, but I didn't know what John was going to do, and all of a sudden, he would basically just do a show every day at the same time slot, just at home on Periscope, which was like it was new to me in 2016 or 2015. And he had a lot of people watching, and I thought it was so cool. It's like, you're going to fire me? I don't need your freaking platform. I got my own platform, so people still want to watch me. And I watched it. He was great, and I was thinking, man, I think I could do this too. So I started doing Periscope just because I was copying John Middlecoff. So thank you, John. And I did that for years, like after games, after practices, and never figured out. And I had a lot of viewers too, because I'm decent. I was giving Niners content on the scene. And then 3 years, 2019, I was at Ryan Sakamoto's house. We were doing hot mic, basically announcing national games for 10 people listening. And he was like, hey man, I noticed you do those Periscopes. You got a lot of people watching. I'm like, yeah, thanks. It's fun. He's like, if you did that on YouTube, you could make money. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Explain that to me. And he was like, oh, dude, there's like Google AdSense. They run ads. I was like, wow. So Ryan Sakamoto is the reason I monetized my YouTube channel, and the reason I have, explained this to dozens and dozens and dozens of people. Like, it all came back to John Middlecoff and Ryan Sakamoto, those two guys. And Ryan Sakamoto covers the Beast Rider. He covers the Raiders. He used to cover the Niners. And again, I owe my entire money-making operation to Ryan. I never would have put two and two together if it weren't for that wonderful, wonderful man. I love that guy. Thank you, Ryan.
Outstanding. That's great to know. And great advice for fledgling content, multimedia. What was the?
Multimedia journalists, MMJs.
MMJs, thank you.
MMJs, yes.
Yeah. Outstanding. Yeah, we got some interesting comments in here. One that I liked was it was about Aaron Rodgers. It said, what would it take to get Aaron Rodgers type QB? Bosa, Kittle, Debo. I mean, to get Aaron Rodgers specifically, I think it would take us not being in the NFC. I mean, I really don't see the Green Bay Packers trading him to an NFC rival. That's just me. I don't know. Just I don't see the Ravens.
Why would they do
trading,
that? Wouldn't they rather him
in the AFC?
Yeah, wouldn't the Packers just rather just like keep Aaron Rodgers and bust his chops? Like, hey, enjoy not playing this year, because they're gonna have to pay for him to play somewhere else. Essentially, right? They're gonna have to pay one way or another. So hey, dude, I mean, we're gonna pay for you to play for the 49ers, make us look bad, and make your dreams come true. Nah, I don't think so. Also, really tired of Aaron Rodgers. And if the Packers bust his chops, good. Milking the spotlight the one last year, he's got it. Go away. Go fish. Go fly fishing.
I mean, and then he did the opposite of the spotlight in his darkness retreat for 4 days.
Oh my God.
I find that hilarious.
Such an attention-grabbing move. And then he came out like he was the freaking groundhog, and everyone's like, well, what did he say? Yeah. What did he say? How did it go? How did it go, Aaron? What did you see God when you were there? It's like, shut up.
I mean, don't we hire QBs because they're decisive, right? Isn't that the idea? Right? And
I like that. I like
he has to go do something that's illegal in the Geneva Convention. You can't even do that to war prisoners, but he's going to do that to himself to make a decision. That's like, come on, dude. Go with your first.
You really think he thought about it? I bet he was just killing time, came out and knew that everyone was talking about him, and that's what he wants. The purpose isn't for him to actually make a decision. The purpose is for people to talk about him because he knows this is like the last year. That's it. In 3 years, he'll be just. Remember Aaron Rodgers? I haven't seen him in a while. Oh, I saw him at a Bucks game. Yeah, he had a gray hair. It was crazy. That's going to be Aaron Rodgers in a few years. Just gone. He's not going to have a media career. Everyone's tired of him. He'll be Brett Favre, but worse. Where's Brett Favre these days? Infamy. No one talks about him. Oh, he's in trouble too. I'm not
ripping
I don't want to get
people
sued.
off.
I'm not getting sued.
I guess we better not talk about that. Yeah,
But I'm just saying, like, people went from, hey, Brett Favre's great to, I don't want to see him anymore. And that's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he's a piece of work, no doubt about it.
Piece of work.
I mean,
Can't get sued for that.
Talk about wide receivers being divas, but Rodgers is the diva QB for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and don't want him.
And as bad as Favre was at the end when he was milking all the attention, on the Jets and the Vikings, dude, Rodgers is worse. You don't even know when he's going to show up to play. Like, is he going to be at minicamp? Is he going to be at OTAs every year? It's like, I don't know. I'm tired of talking about Aaron Rodgers. I don't like him.
Let's talk about Jalen Hurts' contract. Somebody brought it up. Eagles done after paying Hurts. I think he has a small cap hit in 2023, but after that, it goes up quite a bit. But he obviously got a record-setting deal. I've got the details right here. 5 years, $255. That's $51 a year. Highest paid QB, which makes you the highest paid football player in the NFL, NFL history, at least as far as average annual value. Now, what they say the players really care about, though, is that guaranteed money, and that's quite a bit lower at $179. Notably, lower than Kyler Murray by about $10 million, which I thought was really interesting. Kyler's about 189.5, so a little over 10 million more for Kyler Murray. And I think Jalen Hurts is a better QB personally. But I do think that he may not be quite as good as that O-line and those weapons and those backs make him look. I mean, they got, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Goddard, the second best.
He's never under pressure. He's the one NFL quarterback who's never under pressure. Try to think of a play where Jalen Hurts is under pressure. You can't.
And then if you get them to like 3rd and 2, they're just going to run that rugby scrum sneak twice. And
you never know when the Eagles are going to throw. You never know when the Eagles are going to throw because they're winning all the time, and they go for it on 4th down, which means they can run on 3rd down. Like, they're never in a obvious passing situation, and they have the best offensive line in the league, so that helps him a lot. It's a great It's a great formula. I think more teams should adopt it. I mean, it's sound, but that helps big time. But what I want to say is the cap hits aren't out yet. Like, I mean, maybe they are, but I don't see him on Spot Tracker over the cap, so I don't exactly know when he gets super expensive. The way I thought I heard is that he's relatively affordable the first few years for an MVP candidate. And I'm thinking the fact that his guaranteed money is a little bit lower than, I mean, they call him the highest paid player of all time, but his guaranteed money is a little bit lower than other guys like Kyler's. I'm thinking it's a little bit backloaded and probably they can get out of it toward the end. And maybe, I don't know. That's what I'm guessing. So we'll see. I mean, they got out of the Carson Wentz contract, so I don't think it's necessarily franchise crippling if he's good. And if he's not, they can move on. They've done it before. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Wentz, they ate a lot of money to let him go.
Record setting. And then people said they couldn't do it. They did it.
Yeah, $33 million one season, if I'm not mistaken. So,
and it was the right call.
Yeah, it was the right call.
Get him out.
I'm sure they structured this one more favorably to the Eagles. They usually, with a 5-year deal, they usually probably have 3 year. It's really a 3-year deal with some kind of out, and then a 2-year deal tacked on would be my guess. I haven't seen the details yet, but that would be my guess.
Yep.
So, how do you think Jalen Hurts' deal reflects on? There's some outstanding quarterbacks that are likely to get signed this offseason. Burrow, Herbert, and Lamar. How do you see them all sort of stacking up at the end of the day? Do you think any of them make more? All of them make more? What are your thoughts?
I mean, if I were Lamar Jackson,
or deserve, what do they deserve? Let's not talk about what they actually get, but who do you think deserves the most? I think is the better question.
That's a good question. I guess you'd have to say Burrow and Herbert. I mean, it's just going to be who signs last. I mean, that's the thing. Like whoever signs next after Jalen Hurts is going to get more than Jalen Hurts. And if I were Lamar Jackson, I would hire Jalen Hurts' agent. He doesn't have an agent. I don't know why. I guess he wants to save 10%, but he's not. I would get Jalen Hurts' agent and just get the Jalen Hurts contract because his resume is better than Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I mean, what I want to say, my takeaway is that the Eagles were smart to extend Hurts now in April. The Niners don't do business like that. They wait until the very end and then they extend people in like August. And if the Eagles had done that with Hurts, he would have been more expensive. So I think they're really smart to be the first quarterback extension of the offseason. The Niners are going to wait till the end with Nick Bosa. Maybe he'll just be expensive one way or another. But I feel like they could save themselves a little money if they would do these in April instead of July. I don't know. It's no fluke that the Eagles did it now. Like this is why they did it now.
To get yeah, they're smart.
Yeah,
unlike the
save
Niners
money.
should always wait. That's smart. Yeah, I think Burrow will get more
because of the playoff success. Fair.
Yeah, and also the college success. You know, being a national champion.
But also the Chargers and the Bengals are kind of stingy franchises. So I'm curious to see what happens there. You know what I mean?
They're
guaranteed money.
How much big market teams? They don't. I mean, the Chargers don't own their stadium the way the Rams do.
Yeah, how much liquidity do they have? Right, because with the guarantees, you got to put all that in an escrow account. I think you have 12 months to put the full amount of the guarantees in an escrow account. So, do the Chargers have $200 million cash? They might. They probably do. But I mean, people said the Raiders don't. Like the Raiders don't have that kind of liquidity. I don't know if every team does. I don't know. Where's your money tied? Is it investments? Do you have that money? We'll see. Eagles had it.
Interesting.
Eagles had it.
Somebody in the chat brought up the NFC West, but they used a curse word, so I'm not going to put it up there. But
shame on you.
How do you see the cursing. NFC West shaking out?
I think the Cardinals could be the worst team in the league. They're in the running for number one pick. They might even be tanking for it because that quarterback next year from USC is going to be serious. So they suck. The Rams are dismantling their team, so they suck. Two teams that really suck in the NFC West. And then the Seahawks are very interesting to me because they have an excellent head coach who's borderline Hall of Famer. And they had a really good offense last year. The issue was their defense was crap. But Pete Carroll probably can turn that into a pretty decent defense like now. Like they have a good secondary. They need a lot of reinforcements in the front seven. They have a million picks. Like it's coming. What do you think they're going to draft? Like it's coming right now. So that's a team that's young. But Pete Carroll has worked with young players forever going back to USC. So I think Niner fans kind of underestimate him. I mean, they have a Pro Bowl quarterback with two really good offensive tackles, not just one. Good running back. I mean, DK Metcalf, hell of a player. I think he's better than Aiyuk. No offense to Aiyuk. That's a really good team with a terrible defense, but it may not be a terrible defense. I mean, Bobby Wagner's back. They just need a couple more D linemen, and that's what
they got.
Take.
Yeah, they got Draymond Jones.
Good player.
They got Love from the Giants, the safety. They got Jaron Reed back too, who was a Chief for a little while, a former Seahawk. And they have a top 5 pick that they're
probably going to take Jalen Carter or one of those guys. Yeah.
Or that.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Jalen Carter, but it does kind of feel like the kind of guy that the Seahawks would take. Like they don't.
Yeah, they don't care about character.
No, not at all.
No,
not at all. No,
does not bother them one little bit. So yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, and especially if they have another draft like they had last year. I mean, gosh, they had Kenneth Walker, the great running back they drafted, and to me, the big one was Tariq Woolen, who I actually had a Jets fan on not too long ago. One of the channels that I simulcast to, Let's Talk Sports, the guy who runs it, his name is Dan, and he's a Jets fan, and he was saying that he thought that Tariq Woolen was better than Sauce Gardner, not maybe as a prospect, maybe not long term, but in their rookie seasons, that Tariq Woolen had a better rookie season, and I thought that was pretty unbiased thing for a Jets
I would think that. Look,
sure.
I don't know the numbers, and I didn't watch every Seahawks and Jets game, but I would think that Woolen probably played more zone than Sauce. If you put him in pure man-to-man cover situations against the best wide receivers in the league, I'm probably still taking Sauce. But I mean, play a lot of zone. It's not. I don't know. Like, maybe Woolen is the better tackler overall player, but like maybe he's the next Richard Sherman or something. I don't know.
I didn't watch enough of them both to have an opinion. I just know Woolen got more interceptions, and I think he was targeted less as well too. But time will tell.
It's hard to pick the ball off when you got your back to the quarterback in man coverage. It's easier when you got eyes on the quarterback in zone, which is why people play zone.
No doubt, and and also some of it depends on the guy across from you too. True. If you have a weak corner on the other side, they're just going to pick on them all day and never even throw at you.
The Ahkello Witherspoon rule.
Yes, even Mosley when he first started, was
true.
Was
and
they were both. Yeah, I mean across from Richard Sherman. Oh boy.
What was that? That was loud too. Was that outside?
I think we might have some construction going on.
That's going to be me in a couple of months. I'm I'm remodeling my kitchen. It's going to be so. It's right above me too. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. I might have to do my shows at my dad's house or something. I don't know.
Oh my Lord! Well, I heard this little tap 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 tap. I thought someone was knocking on the door, but I think they were.
Was that a power saw?
Lightly hammering. It was. I don't know what the heck that was, but it was loud as you wanted. But now I hear this little tap tap tap. Again, I apologize 100%.
That's all right. Happens.
I might need to run out and just go see what in the world is going on. As far as other stuff NFL related, I think we've covered most of it. So maybe we should.
Maybe you should go talk to those construction workers across. No, go ahead. No, let's talk Warriors. Let's talk Warriors.
Yeah, let's talk Warriors. Let me switch the overlay and. I gotta go talk to them.
Hey man, that's what happens. Sorry, Ted. No, Ted, don't go away. No, I'm just gonna leave me here. I can't turn this off. I'm here by myself. I'm on your channel. Ted just left. So what's up, guys? Kyle Scamahan? Ted, come back. Turn the show off. Talk Warriors. Okay.
Sorry about that. I had to just go see what was going on.
What was it?
It's some.
Is it a leaf blower?
It's like a saw. Some guys we had a TV that was on a stand and we're wall mounting it. And
are you sawing the TV in half?
I don't know what the world they're doing, but they said they're finished now. So
okay, cool. Let's talk Warriors. All right, cool.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. So obviously down 0-2 to the Kings. What are your impressions on first couple games? Overall outlook.
It's a circus.
I mean, the Draymond suspension.
It's a circus. Look, I think I'm really cynical about the NBA. It's not a top flight league. And it feels to me like in the first two games, they gave the Kings a little bit of preferential treatment with the calls. Not to be that guy who's like complaining about the refs, but I feel like it's going to even out. Like, I don't think the NBA favors the Kings. I just think they wanted the Kings market to be engaged and to not just get blown out of the water. So I think the league wants us to go 7. It's a great series. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors win tonight without Draymond. They'll have Anthony Lamb. He can shoot. Draymond can't. I mean, they'll be at home. They could, what the refs could do, and you see it all the time, they didn't punish Sabonis at all. But they could take him out of the game with 3 quick fouls immediately. And that could be the way that they make it fair. I mean, I think the NBA is really close to being rigged, like this close. So it just seems to me everyone makes more money if it goes 7. It's a great series. Why would you not want this to go 7? Especially after the perception is, well, the NBA just rigged the series by suspending Draymond Green. Like, why would you do that? Well, what if the Warriors win tonight? Yeah, no one's going to talk about that anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors win. It's the freaking Warriors. They're at home. They've won games without Draymond before. It's just one game. I wouldn't be surprised if they win tonight and this goes 7.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I had a friend who once said, "Oh, the refs, they don't fix it; it's just facilitated."
Exactly.
That's sort of how I felt in game one. It was like Curry was cold early. The game, the Warriors got a little lead, and then all of a sudden, here comes all these whistles, slow the Warriors down until the Kings got hot, and then the refs let them play towards the end, and Wiggins and Curry both missed big threes towards the end to, allow us to lose the game, to allow the Warriors to lose. And so I felt like the refs were involved, but it wasn't terrible. But game two, it was just terrible.
Real quick, it felt like the refs were trying to be like, we'll let you grab and hold each other because it's playoff basketball. So you're getting Curry and Clay held a lot off the ball. What you're also getting is Domantas Sabonis grabbing Draymond Green's legs after made baskets and missed baskets. And you're getting a lot of this like grabbing and wrestling. And then the NBA is like, wait a second, like suspending people for basically engaging in wrestling acts that they're condoning by not calling whistles. So to me, it's like, hey, it's playoff basketball. It's tough around here too. Oh my God, there are kids watching. You can't do stuff like that. It's like, come on, pick one. Because when we were kids when I was a kid in the 90s, like this type of stuff was routine in the playoffs, man. Like near fights, yelling and stuff. Like who cares? But now it's like, oh my God, Draymond Green, he is. It's like, nah, man. I love players like Draymond. He goes just over the line. Not way past. He's not run our test. Just over the line, man. You should want that. But anyway, I'm just ranting now.
No, and people say, "Oh, yeah,
he's old school.
It was almost
He's a
Malice
throwback.
in the Palace Part 2." And I'm like,
no,
what?
It wasn't.
If you watch this, you know that Draymond does that every time he gets ejected. He goes around and he dances and
he does
this thing. This is nothing special to the Kings or Adam Silver being there. It's just what he does every time.
Why do they act like his antics are bad for the league, man? You need more players like Draymond. He's a throwback. They had these guys in the 80s and 90s all the time. Do people not remember Dennis Rodman? We loved Dennis Rodman in the 90s. Now, Dennis Rodman, but like a more sophisticated version of him is out there. People are like, this is unacceptable. Like, what? You kidding?
No doubt.
I don't
no
get
doubt.
it.
And it's
I love Draymond.
And it's like, I do too. He's my favorite player. That's why his jersey's up there. He's on the back of my poncho. He's on the front of my poncho and a pin. I mean, love Draymond Green. And I hate the people that are like, oh, he's costing the team. Like, guess what? We won 4 rings with Draymond. And you can't separate out like, oh, so now there's some bad emotion. Well, what about all the good emotion? They call him the flipping heartbeat of the team.
Hey,
like you can't
see what happens if they trade him. See what happens if they trade him.
That's what I said. The window's shut.
It's over. It's over if they trade him. And they know it.
Yeah.
But the problem is they should have extended his contract. By not extending his contract, he has, I feel like, it's brought out the worst in him. He's put himself above the team. He did it with his podcast. He did it with the punch, and he did it with the ejection. Like, if they had just committed to him, like they committed to Wiggins and Poole, this wouldn't have happened. But they committed to Wiggins and Poole and not him, which is wrong because he's the freaking Hall of Famer, not them. And look what happened. So I think they created this. And if they ship him off, it's a mistake.
And I've been arguing with Sac fans, of course, and Warriors haters, pretending to be Sac fans on the timeline. And they're like, oh, well, Draymond, he got this because of priors. And it's like, well, some of those priors were BS. And now this is BS. So this is going to lead to more things in the future because this is a prior. And it's like Sabonis, like you said, he grabbed his foot, but it was before that he did 2 other things. He pulled Clay down and he ran into Draymond's ankles and legs where he could have injured Draymond or Clay doing that. And it was and people are like, oh, well, Draymond should have held his hands up in the air and gotten the call. I'm like,
right.
Sabonis thwarted 2 fast breaks earlier in the game and there was no call in Draymond's favor. In fact, the one where Sabonis was behind him and hit Draymond coming in bounds, Dre got called for it first. They had to challenge it and it got reversed so that there wasn't a penalty at all, but it was going to go against Dre. So of course he's not going to think he's going to get a whistle because we weren't getting the whistle because they didn't whistle Monk in game 1 when he did it to Draymond.
It's just wild that like the NBA admitted that they're like trying to send a message to Draymond. They're like, this is because he's done this in the past. Like what they're essentially saying is like, we're trying to make sure this is the last time you ever do this because it's a bad look for the league or something. It's like, that's a really dangerous precedent. Like, you better do that for other players in the future too, right? Right? Like, didn't Nikola Jokic like totally take out Marcus Morris from behind or something? Like, what about the next time Nikola Jokic like elbow someone? Are you going to suspend him for a playoff game because he did something in the past? Like, he's the face of he's the face of your league, right? He's an MVP. You're going to do that to him or just Draymond? You got to be consistent now.
Yeah, and then the whole thing they're calling it a stomp, and it's like, oh yeah, it's some stomp, and they're just chest bumping people afterwards and doing dunks and hanging off the rim. Like, how serious?
Also, remember last year?
Like, oh, he's questionable. Oh, well, guess what? Today, oh yeah, he's going to play.
He's
Shocker.
fine.
Everyone's so
remember
surprised.
Last year though, when Dylan Brooks hit Gary Payton II midair, and Gary Payton broke his elbow and missed a month. Missed a month.
Most of the playoffs.
And Dylan Brooks missed one game. He was suspended for one game.
Yeah.
To me, a lot of if you injure someone, you should be out as long as they are. Draymond didn't injure anyone. Sabonis acted. He's fine. There's no reason.
Has never injured anyone. Draymond has never caused someone to miss a game.
Yeah, like that's just. It's just feel like
he's hurt some people, scratched some eyes. I'm not gonna say he's not a little dirty. He is a little dirty, but he's not dirty.
I just feel like white people are scared of Draymond. Can I say that? White people are scared of him.
I mean, you can say whatever you want.
If his name was Travis Green and he was white doing the same stuff, people would be like, oh, that's part of the game. One of those guys, it's like, but it's like Draymond, people are like, oh my God, he's going to punch me. It's like, no, man. I really think white people are just scared as hell of Draymond. Scary. He's a scary guy.
Yeah. Some of the people you talk to about some of these players and you talk about the on-court, on-field stuff, and there's nothing you can fault on it, and they're still hating. That's an obvious explanation for a lot of it, but I mean,
am I the only one that thought Sabonis and Draymond got into it? They're both doing dirty stuff. It been building up, but they side with Draymond. I mean, look at them. Sabonis got the blonde hair with the blue eyes. He's got that, I would never do anything wrong look. It wasn't my fault. I'm a good guy. And of course they fall for that stuff where Draymond just looks like he fits every description for whatever, you know what I mean? He just played the bad guy role his whole life. And it's ridiculous. I just think I don't know.
Sabonis is just a big flopping crybaby faker. And that's all he is. He faked it all, and he will play tonight, and there will be zero effects from the stomp. And I guarantee you, if Dre had really tried to hurt him, he would have been injured. He'd have broken ribs or worse if Dre had really tried to stomp on him.
Yeah, and look, whatever. Sabonis, it's gamesmanship. I thought it was kind of weaselly, but you do what you got to do. I'm sure Draymond would do stuff like that too, honestly. But the league reviewed it 1,000,000 times and still felt that Sabonis was just like a T, and Draymond Green needed to be ejected, suspended, fined. Really? You forget Sabonis. The league? Oh, come on, man. That's so soft. And David Stern wouldn't have done that 30 years ago. I'm sorry. David Stern would have played it up. Remember the Bad Boys Pistons? Remember Charles Oakley? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And if you want to suspend one, suspend them both. But I don't think either should have been suspended.
Don't suspend them.
The interesting thing though is now, I mean, there's obviously pressure on the Warriors because if they lose, they'll go down 0-3. No team's ever come back from 3 down in the playoffs. But in a way, there's a lot of pressure on the Kings. I was listening to Bonte Hill on 95.7 The Game yesterday morning. And he was saying that, and Shasky didn't agree, but I kind of did agree with Bonte that, that it's like if the Warriors win this and then Draymond's back for Game 4, we almost have momentum, even being down.
If they win without Draymond, that's a huge confidence booster.
Yeah, massive,
huge, massive. Because now Lamb is entering the starting lineup most likely, and he wasn't even in the rotation. And hold on. They have no bench right now. Their bench is Gary Payton. And who?
Jonathan Kuminga,
Moody had eight good minutes. So right now, you feel confident in Moody and Gary. That's not enough. They got a 7-man rotation. If Lamb actually proves that he can play in this series, that's a good thing, because I don't feel very confident about Jonathan Kuminga. I mean, his minutes have been not great so far. And Jordan Poole looks unplayable to me, man. What the hell? He's so bad on defense.
Break his ankle in Game 1. So,
okay.
But yeah, he's always even healthy. He's bad on defense. I'll give you that.
All right. Well, if he's got a sprained ankle, then yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of minutes, there are people who are saying in game one, Steph played 37 minutes, De'Aaron Fox played 40. People are saying, we lost by 3. People are saying if Steph played 40 minutes, Warriors win. And of course, then they're going after Kerr. There's a lot of people saying Mike Brown's the better coach. I think just Mike Brown knows our team better. Kerr probably doesn't know the Kings that well. And obviously they both, Mike and Steve know each other both well. But as far as the players, I think Mike Brown definitely has that advantage. But do you think?
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Remember when John Gruden faced Bill Callahan in the Super Bowl, and John Gruden knew all the Raiders plays? It feels a little bit like that. Like, Steve, that guy was in your huddle for like 4 years, man. You got to switch something up. They know all your. They're overplaying every cut, every pass. Did you not see this? Did you not expect this? Also, they're baiting Draymond Green because they know their coach knows that that's what you need to do. It's very interesting.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I was saying about Kerr, like a lot of people were beating him up, and I was sort of defending him a little bit. But I think what Kerr does is he knows that the Warriors are going to face tougher opponents than, say, we do in the regular season. And even I'm going to say, the Kings have played really well. I don't think they're the best team in the Western Conference. And I think he does things to handicap the team on the easier opponents so that they're more battle tested for the tougher opponents. And so that was why I sort of defended what he did. But I don't know what you think about that. That's sort of like a tinfoil hat theory.
No, I feel you, but going down 2-0, they've never been down 2-0, or in the Kerr era, I believe. So I don't think this was the plan. I don't think this was the plan, and I think it's crazy.
No. I was talking about game one was the plan, and then they figured they'd win game 2.
But they blew it. They were too casual in game 1. I think their attitude was, look, we're going to beat the Kings. We're going to beat the Kings. Yeah. We got an old team. We got a long playoffs ahead of us. Let's not do anything out of the ordinary. It's like, man, if you had played Steph Curry 41 minutes instead of 37 in game 1, it might be a 1-1 series right now. And so now you're going to have to play extra games instead of, an extra 3 minutes. It's like it backfired huge, big time. It doesn't feel like their year, man. It just doesn't feel like their year. From the punch to the Wiseman thing to the no bench. It's a Wiggins leaving and with no explanation and just showing up for the playoffs. You can't do stuff like that and win a championship. It just feels like they were not faithful to the process of being champions. To me, I don't know. And the Kings are punishing them for it.
Today. It feels like that today.
It does.
Tomorrow it may feel a whole lot different, especially Wiggins.
We keep waiting for them to flip the switch, right? Flip the switch. Yeah. But it's like, is this a team? I don't know. I mean, you have the core, you have a starting lineup, but is it a team? Yeah. I mean, the power forward punched the 6 man in the face. Why are they 11-30 on the road? Well, you have to hang out together on the road. Do they hang out together? Do they like hanging out together? One guy punched the other guy. I wouldn't hang out with the guy who punched me. I've never been punched. Maybe that explains a lot about my personality. Never been punched in the face. Maybe some people feel like everyone needs to get punched in the face. Never been punched in the face. But I wouldn't be friends with that guy afterward. I'd be like, hey, thank you for punching me in the face. I needed to get my ass socked. So thank you. Like, no, I would hate you. But what's Jordan Poole going to do? Punch him back? No, I don't think so.
No doubt.
No.
Well, I mean, he definitely won't. And there were some people saying that's part of the reason for the suspension too, is that played into it as well, that the NBA never stepped in on that. And so now they were just waiting for something to happen to kind of pounce. I just think that if Wiggins, basically, Grant, the way I look at it is this team is very similar to last year. You basically take out Otto, you pop in Dante DiVincenzo. It's a wash. Other than Bielitsa, we're missing. We should have gotten a big in the buyout market,
dude. If they had just kept him and Otto,
I just think it could look a lot different tomorrow. It could look a lot different. But as of right now, we do not look like that team. I still have faith that the Warriors can still be that team, but it's going to take Steph, Clay, Wiggs, everybody stepping up. To Dante DiVincenzo has not showed up in the playoffs yet. All that. And I know we're coming up on an hour here, so I want to be mindful of your time.
Real quick, before we go, I just want to say my prediction for tonight is that Anthony Lamb has a good game. I know people think he's not good, and I know he's a controversial person. He's been accused of some stuff, but innocent until proven guilty or whatever, like with all people. And he shoots 36.7% from 3, and he's 6'6", and he can rebound a little bit. So I feel like he could actually hit he's going to get open shots in this game, and I think he could hit some. And if he does, that changes things because the Warriors offense it's been so hard, so hard for them to get an open shot. This guy's going to get some.
You know why?
Shots.
Because they're not driving the hoop. That's why they still have 53-point attempts in the game.
Well, I bet you they're going to drive the hoop in this game and kick out to Lamb, who's going to have wide open threes. See if he hits them. He's a good shooter.
All right. I'm not a Lamb believer, but I'm hoping you're right just because this is do or die.
I'm not necessarily a believer. I'm just saying the statistics say he could have a good game. That's at least from
about it.
We'll see. That could change the series if it becomes a contributor. Let's see. I'm intrigued.
I am too. And Grant, I just want to say thanks again for coming on. Thanks for all your help. Everybody make sure you follow Grant at Grant Cohn on Twitter. Also on YouTube, Grant Cohn, also Sports Illustrated, All 49ers FN, all49ers.com, all that good stuff. He's the best. So thanks again for coming on. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Peace and go Niners, go Dubs.
Go Kings.